The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hey, how are you? Welcome to Real Reviews. This week, unfortunately, we do not have Jamison Rabbit.
Unfortunately, come on, I take that as a personal insult.
Well, you shouldn't. I mean, we're blessed, I guess.
Thank you, that's what I like.
With Jeff Robbins. He is the program director, and also you do a couple of other shows around here, too.
I do a couple radio shows. I'm not typically in front of the camera on the TV side. I try not to be. We get a lot of hate mail when I'm seen. On television. So just warning you for this particular episode.
Well, Jamison can go through all that mail when he gets back. And,
yes.
But how about we just jump into the movies, because we got three of them this week.
Well, I did want to make a quick comment that today's casual day at the office, and you're dressed very nicely. You look very nice. I don't think I'm supposed to do. I don't know if I'm supposed to go into your space like that, but so I'm dressed less.
I wore
formally,
this.
So I apologize to you and to our viewers.
That's fine. I'm usually dressed more casual, and Rabbit is the one that wears a three-piece suit and a hat, and I kind of felt like someone had to wear a tie, just in case you...
I applaud you for taking that role on.
I am not wearing pink, though.
I thought you were going to say I'm not wearing pants, but no.
Hi.
Okay, that's a little secret here.
A little too much. But anyhow, on the marquee, the big movie is Hellboy.
Yes.
Directed by Neil Marshall.
Sure.
Amelia Joseph. Wow. See, Rabbit's really good at the names. Jehovah. We're okay.
Mila Jovovich.
Thank you. Yes.
Is that correct?
We're going to go with that because
okay.
it sounds a lot better than what I was saying.
Yeah.
She is the evil person of this movie.
The Blood Queen.
She plays the Blood Queen. Just like a couple of other movies we've seen just recently this year. Evil lady that gets killed by knights of old. She is decapitated and split into many parts, spread around the world. Bad guys put her together again, and very few heroes can stop her. We've got Hellboy. This is kind of a reboot of the franchise by Del Toro.
Yes.
A couple years ago, unfortunately,
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
No. Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro. He had two Hellboy movies. He had it set up for a third, and unfortunately, it just didn't make enough money where it justified making a third. The fans hollered for more. They wanted it all back. They didn't quite get what they wanted. They did get a reboot, and that's this. We have a new director, Neil Marshall, and we have David Harbour. He plays Hellboy. He is the hero of this. He was originally, just like in the first movie, he was a baby spawn from hell that they did not kill. They decided to adopt him like a son, and then make him a supernatural superhero to beat all these bad guys, to save the world over and over again. He teams up with Sasha Lay, who plays Alice Monaghan, and also teams up with Daniel Day Kim, who plays Major Ben Damio. Both these people have supernatural powers, and they help him out on his quest to kill the Blood Queen. What did you think of the movie?
Just like that. Oh, you're going to ask me what I thought about it before you tell us what you thought about it?
Yeah, because we were talking a little bit about it, and
yes.
I'm kind of surprised you said you enjoyed this movie, and I am desperate to find out what you really liked about it.
Well, I think the difference here in how we approach this film is that you had seen the first two Hellboy films.
Yeah.
I not only had not seen either Hellboy film, but I really knew nothing about the character. I knew nothing about his comic background or any of the other characters, and I went into it. I actually went into it sort of. I was a little bit worried about what I'd heard about the amount of gore in the film because I'm not a gore kind of guy. So I think I went into it expecting that there would be more than I thought there was. I really didn't think it was all that gory.
Really? Okay, cool.
Maybe I have a higher tolerance for that sort of thing than I thought. But I found myself getting wrapped up in the story. I mean, I didn't know who Hellboy was. So all this stuff that you mentioned, I was learning for the first time.
Okay.
Learning, the whole how he was spawned from some sort of demon creature and human female. Is that the story?
Yeah.
And it was some sort of he came first out of whatever to fight Nazis, or he was spawned by Nazis, or there was a Nazi element to it.
And in the first film, that was pretty much what it was. They really showed a lot of how the Nazis were trying to kind of create the thing that was going to help them win the war, and out comes Hellboy.
Right.
And in the first one, they also had a lot of nemesis, like there's this clockwork type Nazi that was able to look really cool and be menacing, and that person also survived the aging everybody else did and was put into the future, and they battled in the current
So there were more
times.
Nazis in the first movie.
There was Nazis in the first movie. A little less Nazis in this movie. It was just pretty much the beginning.
From what I understand, this is based on like 3 separate stories or 4 stories.
I have not read the comic books.
Okay.
I am aware of the comic books, but that was just something I never really delved.
So how did David Harbour compare with Ron Perlman?
I feel like they were very similar.
Okay.
Of course, I've seen the first ones, and I was a huge fan of the first one. So when they didn't quite match up, I was a little disappointed. Also,
You found it, see, again, not coming in with that sort of distraction, it's not like I'm coming in thinking, who took over for Christopher Reeve in the Superman movies? But, that sort of thing, like, I can only picture Christopher Reeve in this role. I had no preconceptions about the role, so it didn't bother me that it wasn't Ron Perlman.
But rightfully, all the other Supermans after Christopher Reeve were not good. They were,
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
They're
So that was
still
a bad
not
example.
great. Yes. No, well, I considered the first ones to be perfect.
Perfect.
They were magical. They had just the right enough of stuff that makes adults enjoy it, but it was also magical and whimsical enough where I think kids could enjoy it. I thought the stories were deep. I thought there were more heart to it. This movie had a little bit where they were trying to focus in on the adoption, the father and son relationship.
Was that in the first film? Because I enjoyed Ian McShane. I thought he was an interesting character. Because I never quite knew, again, not knowing the story, I never knew if he was really a good guy or not. I didn't know if he was going to turn on his son at some point, so that sort of kept me guessing a little bit.
And that was a point that they made in the first movies and also in the comic books, from what I've heard, is he is supposed to be around to kill and kind of be an evil character, but through the love of his father and the rest of the paranormal team, that's his family, and that keeps him grounded, and he shaves off his horns, and he just does the straight and narrow as much as he can.
It was a touching father-son scene where he was,
kind of
filing down his horns.
Kind of throws me off on some of the CG that they had, which kind of remind me a little bit of Spawn back in the 90s. You had these things that kind of looked like chitlin and wet cobwebs, and they didn't have arms, and it just...
that was the name of my first album.
Chitlin
and Hot Webs or whatever.
Nice! That's
but platinum.
The CG kind of threw me off, and the lack of the magic that I perceived in the first ones threw me off. Also, on top of that, the story, which if you're not used to all the other stuff that
I got into the story. I enjoyed, they're going, they're finding all the bits and pieces of the Blood Queen. They're going to put her together.
To me, it felt like a lot like the story of Kid in King Arthur's Court that we just had recently. There has been a bunch of movies where someone has died and then they're brought back into the future, and it feels way too recent. The only thing new I thought they brought to this movie was a little bit more of the father-son relationship, but still that was something that was in the Hellboy movies.
Well, and the other thing that I found interesting was the whole notion of he's sort of a monster, to say the least. Yeah. But he's fighting sort of against the monsters in the film, the giants and the blood and whatnot.
Yeah.
And why is he doing that? Why is he siding with the humans and sort of going against his own kind, so to speak? And I thought that was kind of an interesting moral struggle. I don't know if that I don't know if that played into the other two films, but I found myself sort of interested in that as well. And I like the guy from Lost, Daniel Day Kim.
Yeah,
I know Lost is. I'm dating myself now that because he's been in other things since Lost.
Yeah.
I will always picture him as somebody from Lost.
I couldn't get. I loved it all the way up until they announced that they had no idea how it was going to end. And at that point, after the 4th season, I was like,
Oh, we're talking about Lost.
Yeah,
now. Okay.
but we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. Back
Okay.
on to Hellboy. So you enjoyed it. What did you give it for a score?
I gave it 3 stars there on your ranking system.
Wow. So you really did enjoy it?
Yours goes up to 5, right?
It goes all the way up to 5.
Yeah,
So
3
that would be a
stars.
poor score if it was, well, I guess 10. It would
Well,
be a great
4.
score if it was
It'd be a
4.
great score if it was
Yeah.
4. I'd give it a solid 3. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Well, great. I'm glad. I unfortunately thought it was boring, and I didn't like it. And that could have been because I liked the other movies a lot better. I gave it a 1.5.
And I'm freely admitting that if I had seen the other films, I might feel differently about this one.
Well,
So maybe this is a good recommendation if you are unfamiliar with the other 2 films.
next time you do this show, somehow we'll worm it in where Hellboy is our throwback.
Okay, perfect. And when I do the show again, 3 years.
Yeah,
Because I think I do the show every couple of years.
Yeah, Rabbit's been gone 3 times in 5 years.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is extremely impressive. So, next movie we're going to talk about is
Real quick,
yeah.
explain the economics of the movie industry to me. I mean, if they didn't think if they didn't think they could succeed with a 3rd chapter of the original trilogy, how did they think they can succeed with a reboot?
I think
It doesn't make sense to me.
I think it was because the fans. The fans really wanted the 3rd movie.
Right.
Del Toro wanted a 3rd movie.
Right.
Ron Perlman wanted a 3rd movie, and this was something that would float around social media every year, at least once, and it would get a really powerful surge, and then nothing would ever happen because they don't want to make another 3rd.
Because this movie's not doing well in the box office.
No.
So I think they made a mistake. I think they should have stuck with the 3rd film in the original series.
And matter of fact, Marcus Theaters, they had this huge promotion where if you got a ticket on the first day,
Right.
you would get like this little bobblehead or pop character and
Cool, I didn't get one of
a
those.
poster, and they did not get enough people to get rid of all these characters, and they're giving them away with a popcorn,
Really?
the ultimate popcorn thing. So if you really like Hellboy and still don't want to see the movie,
Tom, if you're watching the show, I want one of those.
definitely get. I have one.
You have one, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
I'll let you look at it.
Wow, that's very, very generous of you.
I'm a generous guy.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
So the next movie on the marquee.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Little.
Sweet.
So Little is a kind of a fantasy comedy film. It stars Regina Hall, Issa Rae, and Marissa Martin. Am I saying that right?
I'm going to go with
Marissa?
it. Yes.
Okay. Basically, it's the story. Regina Hall plays a executive at a tech company, and she's really mean, and she really sort of bullies people, and she bullies people a lot. She's like the world's worst boss. Nobody can stand being around her, and one day at the office, a little girl who's hanging around outside magically turns her into a little girl.
Yeah.
And she has to go back and sort of relive her life as a little girl. And she sees how, I think she kind of understands how when she was bullied as a little girl, which we actually kind of see in a prologue in the movie, that has made her sort of a mean adult. And this kind of puts her back into, because she still has the mind of her old self.
Okay.
And she sees how mean she's been and sort of becomes transformed, I would say. I don't want to give away the ending here. So she becomes, she maybe improves herself a little bit through the experience of becoming little.
I think.
Did I explain that okay?
I think you did a good job. I think you did a great job.
Oh, great job. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it would be too bad to spoil. It's pretty much a predictable movie. It's not going to be a tragedy by any means. Most of these comedies end up where everybody is satisfied with their lives in the end.
So this movie, to me, not to break any news, but most harkens back to the film Big.
Yeah.
The Tom Hanks film.
And I feel like that's how they got their name. They just like, okay, instead of going from child to adult, we'll just switch
I think there should be a lawsuit here. I mean, it's so obvious.
Wow. Well, I know
they could have at least called it something besides little.
They
I mean,
could
that's
have.
really blatant.
And Hollywood's known for its originality.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
We just talked about a movie that was a reboot. But yeah, so anyway, the movie to me certainly did not reach the heights of a classic like Big, and I think the inherent problem here is that if you're a child and you are all of a sudden you're in the body of an adult, there's a sense of wonderment and there's a sense of what's going to happen, and you're exploring things that you haven't explored before. And you're surrounded by people that kind of assume you know what you're doing because they see you as a grown person.
Yeah.
Like there's that classic scene in Big where Elizabeth Perkins is trying to seduce him, and he's like, bunk beds are okay. I want, I'll sleep with you. I want to be on top. That sort of thing. And they're talking about bunk beds. And here you have a. You remember that scene?
Yeah, I remember that scene, and I could see how.
Still a PG movie. I'm not getting too graphic here with you. I don't
Or
think.
in this movie, were you going to mention about you have a child now that is flirting heavily in a sexual manner with adults?
I thought that was inappropriate.
Yeah, it's.
And I also thought they would never do that if it was a boy child flirting with a grown woman, because there's been enough sort of weird stories about teachers sleeping with their teen students or male students, but I wasn't going to go down that path.
I think they kind of do it. Like Sandlot. I mean, of course, the lifeguard was not an adult, but she was definitely an older person than Squints. And, he faked I need CPR just so he could get some makeout session.
I suppose.
But
anyway, so here you have, I think there's nothing more annoying than a kid that thinks they know it all. It's like the sitcom, it's like the precocious kid on a sitcom, where they're 5 years old, but they've got these comedy writers working for them, and everything is a funny one-liner. And like, well, no 5-year-old actually talks like that. Here you have a precocious child who acts like a grown-up, and I just generally found that sort of annoying.
Huh. Well, I could see where you might be annoyed on that. That was one of the few things that I liked about the movie. I thought
the main character.
I thought Marissa Martin, she did a fantastic job at doing that, getting that confidence that usually adults have that children don't have.
Well, she was not only confident, but she was just cocky. I mean, she was downright, just like, I'm the smartest person in the room.
Well, some of her mannerisms, especially like when she dances, it's like, I've seen kids dance and they're all free and just flying around.
Yeah.
But when little Jordan Sanders is dancing, I'm like, oh, that's exactly how adults dance. We were kind of a little inhibited, and I don't know if that was because of her acting ability or if that was just because she didn't feel as comfortable dancing, but she could still do the dancing. I don't know. When it came to her acting as an adult, I enjoyed that. And some of the jokes, like when they mentioned that she was a crack baby, and then all of a sudden she just started twitching. I did laugh out loud.
I think she was fine in the role. I just found the character sort of annoying.
And I
don't think I can blame the actress for that.
I know a lot of people who do not like movies or shows that have children that are just snot-nosed brats.
Right.
Which later on we have a throwback that does have a teenager that acts like that, but we're not going to talk about that now.
There were some things in the movie that I liked. I liked the there was a character who was the supposed boyfriend of the Jordan Sanders character.
Yes.
The good-looking African-American guy who would come over and take his clothes off, and I thought he was actually a pretty good actor. And then I liked the three kids that she helps at the school sort of get their confidence and get them to be themselves, so to speak. I thought they were good child actors.
And that portion really had a nice story too. It had a segment where it was like what you want to be is cool, and that's most important. And then everything just kind of turns around and says, no, you can be cool by being yourself, and that's what's most important.
Is that the right time?
That is the right
time.
I
gotta be.
So we're gonna get through this.
I'm giving Little 2 stars.
2 stars.
Not quite as good as Hellboy.
I disagree. I gave it a 2.5. I think it's a very watchable movie. I enjoyed myself, but there were some editing problems that I really disliked, and I'm not going to get into it. So I just think it's average.
It's very sitcom-y, I think.
Very sitcom.
It's a good movie to watch maybe on Netflix.
If you need something to laugh instead of being gored out, no, this would probably be it. Actually, no, because we have another movie we're going to talk about.
All right.
And Missing Link.
I should have seen this movie, I think.
I feel really bad. I should have said, you should see Missing Link.
Yeah.
I'm glad he saw Hellboy, though, because I didn't like it. It's nice to see someone who got a different perspective.
There you have it.
But anyhow, Missing Link, directed by Chris Butler, written by Chris Butler. This is a new still frame animation movie. Hugh Jackman plays Sir Lionel Frost. He is an adventurer, and he seeks out mythical creatures and tries to prove their existence so that he can belong to this exclusive men's club where people hunt exotic animals. He's not a hunter, he's an explorer, but either way, he wants that fame. In order to get this fame, he makes a bet with this men's club that he will find the Sasquatch or Bigfoot and get indisputable proof that it exists. And if that happens, he gets membership into this club, and the leader, who happens to be our evil villain, Lord Piggott, played by Stephen Fry, he has to admit he's wrong. And he's not going to really do that easily, because he is a jerk. On his way out to the Americas, North America, to find the Sasquatch, Lord Piggott, he sends a kind of a bounty hunter. He's a poacher and a killer, and that is going to be the guy who stops him. Sir Lionel Frost, he comes across a Sasquatch. It's intelligent. It's able to speak. It's played by Zach Galifianakis, so there is a lot of great timing when it comes to the humor and a lot of great one-liners that...
You said that name very well.
Yeah, well, I've said it before. Otherwise, I would be stumbling all over these things. And then I look at Rabbit in that pleading voice, and he gives me the correct pronunciations. But he's not here. Either way, this movie has a lot of adventure. They go through scene to scene. I feel like a lot of stuff happens. There is some positive message about, again, being who you are, breaking down barriers of what is considered acceptable and not acceptable, and just being comfortable with what you know is right and doing what makes you you. And I really enjoyed this movie. I was surprised on how much I liked it.
What studio put this out? This is...
I feel like it's DreamWorks, but I could be way wrong.
What do you call that animation? That's
still frame?
Still frame animation? Okay.
Yeah, or it could be stop motion also.
Okay.
And that would be my only complaint of the movie. Is they're getting actually so good at this stop animation that it's starting to look like CG. I had a date, and halfway through, she's like, well, is this stop frame animation? I'm like, yeah, because it's in the past, like when we're watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and stuff like that, you could see individual hairs move and stuff like that. They perfected it to the point now where it's getting difficult to tell if this is computer animated or if this is done by humans, you know, which takes out some of the magic.
See, one of the reasons I didn't go see this movie was because I couldn't get anybody to go with me, and I thought it'd be creepy to be at this movie by myself.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you agree with me on that.
But it shouldn't be, because this is a movie I think a lot of adults will enjoy.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I would definitely see this again. I think I might end up buying this on Blu-ray just so I could watch this.
Wow.
This is
there's an endorsement.
Yeah. I really enjoyed all the messages, the humor, the one-liners. I actually looking forward to reliving this movie again. I gave this movie a 4.5.
I heard
or 4-star, I meant. But it feels like a 4.5.
Neil Marshall's going to do a reboot of this.
Oh, God. And well, no, we're not going to get into that.
So, is it 4 stars or 4.5? I'm confused.
Well, I think 4, because that's what the TV tells me, and the TV never lies.
Never lies.
It does not.
I always believe the TV.
It goes internet, TV, and then whatever other people tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Internet, TV.
Not people I know, just the other people.
Wife, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we have one more thing. We got a throwback.
Sure.
We don't have a lot of time, but what did you watch for the first time?
Oh, for the first time, I watched a film called Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah.
Harkening back to, what, 87, I want to say?
I think you are correct.
Starring John Lithgow.
Mm-hmm.
Little film about a family that's out for a little camping trip. Little dad's kind of an amateur hunter, showing his son how to kill things. He owns a sporting goods store, I believe, or a hunting store.
Yeah.
And they're out killing rabbits and whatever. And look at this right here on the screen. He hits somebody he thinks hits a man, and it turns out to be Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And they take him back to they're concerned that they've harmed him. They take him back to their home. Maybe they're going to donate him to a museum, or they're thinking about possible ways to make money off of this.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens, Mike?
Well, they become nice people who don't want to hunt, and they want to bring him back out into the wilderness.
They grow to love the hairy guy.
They do.
And they even name him Harry because he's so hairy.
He is very hairy, and he smells.
Doesn't matter that he wrecks their house, and he breaks all the furniture. He falls to the floor a number of times. He destroys their staircases and whatnot.
Yeah, well,
He's just a lovable big Sasquatch.
and a lot of it is because the animatronic set they used in the face, this was groundbreaking when this came out, because the amount of facial expression you could get off of this. People would take advantage of it now.
Talking about John Lithgow?
No, that's his real face.
Oh, okay.
Harry. And nowadays we have
makeup
CG
by
that does all that.
Rick Baker, famed makeup designer Rick Baker.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You did your research.
I think they won an Academy Award for that, maybe.
I bet they did.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I'm having a great time, but we gotta move it along.
That's it? That's all we're going to talk
That's all we're gonna say.
I
Now,
watched
did
the
you
whole movie for that?
Here, 1 second. Did you like it?
No, I thought it was really bad.
You are terrible. No, that is a great movie.
I was watching this movie and I was thinking, what is this?
Really?
Yeah.
Jonathan Lithgow.
I like John Lithgow just fine, but I just didn't buy that they would fall for this hairy bugger that just comes into their home and just kind of wreaks havoc on things.
I think we disagree too much.
Okay, I thought this would be like a fun kind of family classic.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
But it's not. It's not good.
No.
1 minute there's a car chase, and then there's some wacky comedy in the house, and you got Lainey Kazan living next door, and she's
you didn't
the
get
wacky
all,
next door neighbor, and
you didn't get all warm and fuzzy.
No.
No.
no,
Oh.
I got warm and fuzzy during Hellboy.
Jeez, no.
Because I had too much soda and I had to take a potty break.
Yeah. Well, I went into a.
But
coma
the film Harry and the Hendersons, the plot is very much like E.T.
Sure.
There's a guy looking for the Bigfoot, just like there were scientists looking for E.T. and release him back into the wild. And E.T.'s better.
It did make a lot more money. It did make a lot more money. Well, just so we could move on. Everybody, we got Avengers coming out. And Endgame.
Yeah.
It's going to be over 3 hours long. Please get your tickets early. Marcus Theaters will gladly sell them to you
3
early.
hours long?
It's over 3 hours long.
Okay, I
but
like
this
that.
is going to wrap up what they've been doing for the past over a decade. So definitely do not miss this movie. Get your tickets early.
Is this like phase 4 they're in now, or what phase are they in?
This is the end of phase 3.
Okay.
So
will there be a phase 4?
No.
Really?
They are going to continue the Marvel Universe, but there's going to be big changes. There's going to be actors who want to get out of this business, somehow getting out of this business before the end of this movie.
Interesting.
So yeah, this is a wrap up. And
I'm
then
excited to
after
see it.
that, I mean, we already have some things that we already know are coming out, but we don't know what the next generation of Marvel movies are going to be quite yet. This is the end game.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but anyhow, we can't stop the show without thanking our Marcus Theaters. They are awesome. They are so friendly. They're so helpful. Go there, get one of their popcorn buckets, and get your free Hellboy. Thank you very much for making us comfortable and being part of your.
Tom's a great guy.
And
Casey's a great guy over there.
And thank you very much, Jeff Robbins, for taking Rabbit's
Thank you for
place.
having me. I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
You filled in his spot very well. Thank you.
Well, I think you filled in his spot. I filled in your spot.
No, that's his spot right
Oh, okay.
there.
Well,
Yeah.
It's very warm and
Yeah, I just wear his tie.
kind of squishy over here for some reason.
But see you next week. Thank you very much for watching.
See
the show.
you at the movies.
I might.